So, this is going to be my review of Rick and Morty vs. Dungeons & Dragons, the Oni Press IDW crossover that took the world by storm. I'm not joking, guys. Who knew that this comic would generate such a major fan base for both Rick and Morty and Dungeons & Dragons? Like, in a weird way, you think it wouldn't work. Like, you honestly wouldn't think that something like this would work on any level, but yet here we are. And now there's even like a Rick and Morty Dungeons & Dragons edition of the game. So, yeah. Which I think was kind of in the works from the get-go. They just wanted to do this comic as like to introduce everybody. But yeah. So, Rick and Morty versus Dungeons & Dragons. Like, yeah, Dungeons & Dragons, you wouldn't think would be like something Rick and Morty would work with, because it's all magic and what have you. But Rick has dealt with magic before and kind of just told it to fuck off. Now, what I like about this crossover is that, obviously, there's no unless we were doing, like, the 80s cartoon or some important quest, the main thing about Dungeons & Dragons is that it's really a world. It's more of a world, and this is kind of what would happen if Rick and Morty wandered into that world. Or, better put, manufactured it. Because this feels more like a episode of Rick and Morty in comic form. This really does feel like an episode of Rick and Morty that got turned into a episode, was really made into a comic. And that's what I like about this, even though, it is called a crossover. It feels more like it's more Rick and Morty centric, which, yeah, that's fine. That's easily pretty fine, because the thing with doing Dungeons and Dragons is that there's no wrong way to play it in any form. You can either have it as a dark and serious quest, or you can have it, as most people do, as a dumb quest just to dick around with your friends. That's kind of what I do, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys do as well. So yeah, that's kind of what it is that now, you'd think that Rick and Morty, the guys behind this comic, would obviously be like, oh, Rick and Morty would be like, oh, fuck Dungeons and Dragons, it's such a nerd thing. No, it's actually pretty respectful to the Dungeons & Dragons and its fan base. In fact, they really hold it in high esteem. I don't know if Jim Zub and the other writer, Ruthless, I hope I'm saying that name right, were players of the game before, but they clearly have a lot of high esteem for it, and that's what I like about this, is that while they do poke fun at Dungeons & Dragons, it's not like overly mean, like how Rick and Morty would be in most cases. Like, it's just overly, just aggressively mean to, whatever they're mocking. Like, really, like, there are that's the thing with Rick and Morty with me, is that, okay, I get it, you think it's so stupid for people to like this, I get it, creators of Rick and Morty, okay, you can stop the joke now, you think it's stupid that people like this, I get it. But no, that's probably why I like this comic so much, is that it really has Rick and Morty, really have them like, yeah, this is the coolest thing. And it also, like, again, it does have little fun at the expense of the Dungeons & Dragons lore, but really, it's not like over the top like sometimes the episodes get. The other thing in here is that, actually, I should talk about the story. Yeah, Zilla, you've nearly spent 4 minutes talking about just general ideas. Let's talk about the actual story. So the story is that Morty, while at school, overhears like everyone getting into Dungeons and Dragons, and curious, he accidentally gets Rick's help, and Rick, along with the rest of the Smith family, get into a world that he designs, and yeah. It's hilarity ensues there. Now, like I said, this is a Rick and Morty story first and foremost. If you wanted an equal amount of Dungeons and Dragons and Rick and Morty, you're not gonna get that. This is clear. But this time, where I have my thing with crossovers is that, the whole point is to have like an equal share, an equal level for most. Kind of like what I was talking about with Star Trek Transformers, was that was a really good balance of both Star Trek and Transformers. But in here, it's more, obviously, Rick and Morty and Dungeons & Dragons. But here, I'm going to give it a little more credit. I'm going to be a little more, okay. I'm going to be okay with the fact that this is more Rick and Morty-centric. Because, yeah, Dungeons & Dragons, Dungeons and Dragons is really like a world. So that's really like, hey, what if Rick and Morty wandered into this world and had their own little campaign? Wouldn't that be crazy? Oh, fuck yeah, it is. It is totally insane. The humor is really good. They do, it really does feel like an episode, like I was saying earlier. The fun in here is really great. It doesn't go overboard with the, with the aggression towards it. What also is interesting is that if you want to go by continuity-wise, for Rick and Morty, this is during the time period when, I guess, like, set during Season 3. Like, that's the thing, is that it's obviously set during Season 3 because Jerry is, divorced. Beth and Jerry are divorced, so, yeah, if you really are, like, a stickler for, where does this fit in time? It's during the divorce, it's during Season 3. Like, this could be, like, a bonus episode of Season 3. But yeah, there's I really enjoy like how it pokes fun at like female. Summer obviously brings up the whole why do women have to wear scantily clad costumes, and Rick's like, yeah, it's not fair, but it was made in the '80s, so what can you do? And there's some great stuff between Jerry's actually an MVP in here. I never thought I'd say that, but Jerry is a real MVP in this storyline because he turns out to be a true gamer for Dungeons and Dragons, even more so than Rick, and I really like that. I thought that was pretty freaking cool. And Jerry's just a total badass in here. But of course, and I actually there's a joke in here at Rick's expense that made me go, that's really good. That's clever. So yeah. While I have like while I've had my misgivings about recently with Rick and Morty, not by episodes, I mean by fan base. Sorry guys, as much as I love the show, the fan base is kind of, yeah, a little too extreme sometimes. Let's be real here. But if you're looking for fun Rick and Morty action, and yeah, I know this comic is out, and the sequel is still going. Yeah, there's a second Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons crossover that is a sequel to this one, and yeah, that comic is still ongoing. Is still like being issue to issue as of this recording, and this comic has been out for what, a year or so. So yeah, I know I'm a little late to the party, but hey, better late than never. So you guys tell me in the comments below, if you've read it, what did you think of Dungeons & Dragons versus Rick and Morty? Like it, hate it, comment below, let me know, and once again, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I'm out.